Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
The Wildcat, the unconstituted of libertarianism. And before I jump in to the topic of the day, I want to give a quick announcement, if you will, just a reminder of where I'm going to be at the end of the week and the beginning of next week. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be in the White Mountains of New Hampshire at Fork Fest. That's with an F. F-O-R-K-F-E-S-T. You can find out more about that. Head over to forkfest.party. And I'm hoping to be able to wind up recording a couple of episodes from Fork Fest. And if I'm able to do that, that means that there will not be an Ask Me Anything this Friday. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is wind up having some, shall we say, special people. And I don't mean special as in Special Olympics. Just interesting people that I know that happen to also be at Fork Fest. Hopefully, I'll be able to get Roger Paxton on for maybe a segment or two, possibly an entire show. I'm not sure if the guys from the ANCAP Barbershop will be at Fork Fest. I know that they were at Pork Fest last year. Pork Fest, a separate event that happens after Fork Fest. But, I think some of the people showing up for Pork Fest that begins on Tuesday the 19th might actually wind up being at the campground during Fork Fest, again, that runs Friday through early morning Tuesday, officially ending just before Pork Fest begins at noon on Tuesday the 19th. So again, hoping to wind up maybe doing some recording on, Saturday, Sunday, and still release a show next Monday, or this Friday and next Monday as well. So, yes, whatever I release on Friday will not be recorded on Saturday because I don't have a time machine. I realized that during one of the, episode 500, there may or may not have been a reference to a time machine, but yeah, that's not real. That was a fictional episode. So that's where I will be the end of this week, early next week. And if you happen to be somewhere in New England and you decide that you want to come up to the White Mountains, we will be at Rogers Campground in Lancaster. There's no charge for Fork Fest. There are tickets for Pork Fest. Again, that's pork as in porcupine, P-O-R-C-F-E-S-T. Fork Fest, F-O-R-K-F-E-S-T. Again, the website for that, forkfest.party. Now, while I am camping, I'm probably not going to be eating as healthy as I normally do. Might not, I know I definitely will not be having smoothies for breakfast because, I'm not taking all of the stuff that I use to make smoothies. So, weight might be an issue, and that ties directly in with the topic of the day. And if you've listened to the show for a while, you know that over the last just over 3 years, I've lost a good amount of weight, and I've been able to keep the vast majority of that off. At the heaviest that I am aware of, I weighed 317 pounds. Over the course of roughly 11 months, I wound up going down to 172. And then, because of some bad advice from someone that I thought knew better, I wound up putting about 30 pounds back on and then took most of that off again. And, well, over the last couple of months, and part of this has been some muscle gain. I don't know exactly how much, but I have gained about 25 more pounds than where I want to be. And again, like I said, some of that is muscle gain because I was taking some protein supplements and whatnot. And I know that I'm stronger. And like I said, I know that there's definitely some muscle weight in there as well. But that's one of the sort of problems, and I'm using air quotes there, problems of only going off of the scale. Only going off of that weight when you step on to the scale and you see a number. As Darryl McTague, host of the So This Is Fitness podcast, as he likes to say, a scale has one job. It is to weigh the thing that is on it. A scale does not know if you have put a 50-pound brick or a 50-pound bag of feathers. The only thing that the scale knows is that thing that is on it weighs 50 pounds. And that's why there are other things and ways to figure out what sort of body fat percentage one has, what the muscle percentage, etc., etc. And like I say, I know that I have put on some muscle weight, but I'm still not, feeling exactly good about myself, if you will. And again, part of that is probably, and I've mentioned this before, probably going to require some surgery to get rid of excess skin. And, like there are tricky little pockets of fat that I just can't get rid of. I still have not ever seen my abs in my entire life. Well, like maybe when I was 2, but I don't remember that. But, like as far as I can remember, I have never had, like that 6-pack abs. I've always had a little bit of a gut. And that's something that definitely bugs me. So, with all of those ramblings aside, the article here that I want to get into from MyFitnessPal, headline, and an asked a question here: what's harder, losing weight or keeping it off? Yeah, that's a topic for discussion. Stay tuned. We'll jump into it here on Liberty Radio.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
This is Roger Paxton from Pax Libertas Productions and the Lava Flow Podcast, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
I'm back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at altituderradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And, yeah, we'll jump into the article. I almost said back into. Well, we barely scratched the surface of it, so we'll jump into it here in just a moment. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about some really good technology that I'm excited about, and I know a lot of other people are as well, and that would be Zencash. Zencash is an end-to-end encrypted system with zero-knowledge technology over which communications, data, or value can be securely transmitted and stored. with well over 11,000 secure nodes, approaching 12,000. Zencash has one of the most distributed secure node systems of any cryptocurrency. Zencash is a platform for cryptocurrency and communications built by voluntarists for voluntarists, with the ideas of voluntary interaction being written into the white paper no less than half a dozen times. And the Zencash wallet, it's available in multiple languages on multiple platforms: Linux, Mac, Windows, and Android devices. Learn more at zencash.com. That's zencash.com. Now, jumping into the article, and there are actually several articles related to this particular topic that, even if I don't get into, I will post in the show notes as sort of, accompanying pieces, if you will. So the article here, again, from myfitnesspal.com, asking the question and answering, which is harder, losing weight or keeping it off? When your goal is to lose weight, being tunnel vision focused on dropping those pounds is not totally a bad thing. The more you focus, the more likely you are to stick to your plan, even when you hit roadblocks. And that will help you reach your goal faster. Again, I dropped like 145 pounds in about 11 months because I was focused. There were things that I did during that time that I don't recommend other people do. That there were, several days, if not probably weeks, where I was consuming somewhere around 600 calories. I don't recommend that. Now, you might be saying, but like you were totally lacking, all kinds of nutrition, blah, blah, blah. No, like I was making sure that I was getting, protein, vitamins, etc. But I was just severely limiting my calories. Again, I don't recommend that you do that. Continuing on here, it says, but while short-term can help you, or rather thinking short-term can help you lose weight, it can also make it hard to keep the weight off, which is the bigger challenge. Tracy Mann, PhD, professor of psychology at University of Minnesota, says evidence shows that people can lose weight on the short term on practically any diet. It barely matters what the diet is. And I'm going to pause here before continuing with Dr. Mann's statement and point out that, yes, Dr. Mann is being honest here, that people can lose weight on basically any diet because, well, most of the time, diets are, it's new, it's a complete change to what is being done. The body is going to respond to that change. And also, you wind up, in most cases, losing a lot of water weight. You wind up being very excited, and you restrict your calories, and that calorie in, calorie out thing, you wind up with what's called a calorie deficit, and that's how you lose weight, is when you are consuming fewer calories than you burn. And that can be done. You could go on the Twinkie diet. I don't recommend you do the Twinkie diet, but if you only eat 500 calories of Twinkies per day, and again, I don't recommend that you only consume 500 calories per day, but if you did that and all of those calories came from Twinkies, you would in the short term wind up losing some weight, again, because you're creating a calorie deficit. You could go on the steak and potatoes diet. Whatever the diet is, if you are restricting your calories, you are going to lose some weight. Continuing on with Dr. Mann's statement, the problem is, though, nearly everyone gains it back in the long term. Dr. Mann adds, I'm not saying it's not hard to take weight off, but when people struggle to do it, they can and often do succeed. However, most people do not succeed in keeping the weight off. Dr. Mann, who's the author of a book called Secrets of the Eating Lab, says the majority of people gain the majority of the weight back in 2 to 5 years. And this has nothing to do with willpower. Here's why keeping weight off is harder than losing it and what you can do to maintain your weight loss. So why is keeping it off harder than losing? Well, first off, and this goes back to something that I say I don't recommend, your metabolism slows down. In 2016, researchers published a study on the former Biggest Loser contestants in the journal Obesity. The results found that those dramatic transformations did not last, and not only because they leave the show, or rather once they leave the show, they're not doing the extreme hours-long workouts. On average, the contestants gained 70% of the weight they had lost, in part because of the metabolic adaptation. Because we have evolved to survive during periods of food scarcity, our metabolism becomes more efficient when we lose weight. Dr. Mann explains, as your metabolism becomes more efficient, you burn fewer calories, leading to regain. This is also something that I've heard talked about recently called set point theory, to where, again, your body becomes more efficient, so you require fewer calories, and the smaller you get, the less calories you burn while doing a thing, because, well, there's not as much of you that is, doing the thing. It's kind of like how a Geo Metro is a lot more energy efficient and consumes less gas than, say, an 8-cylinder, what was that, Lincoln boat sort of car thing? You know the one I'm talking about, the really big thing that you can plow a forest with. Yeah, not as efficient. Much more.
This November, I'll be running the world's biggest and most popular marathon, the New York City Marathon, as a member of Team Innocence Project. The Innocence Project was the first legal organization to systematically apply DNA testing to cases of wrongful convictions as a powerful tool to reveal innocence. Tony Wright is a perfect example of the power of DNA. The Innocence Project litigated for almost 6 years to get the court's permission for DNA testing. Tony had been incarcerated for nearly 25 years in Pennsylvania and narrowly escaped the death penalty. Tony's case, sadly, is not unique. Empowered with the unequivocal proof of innocence provided by DNA technology, the Innocence Project has litigated hundreds of wrongful conviction cases, leading to the exoneration and freedom for more than 180 people through DNA testing. Overall, there have been 356 DNA exonerees in the United States who were wrongfully imprisoned for more than 4,875 years in total. You can help support the Innocence Project and help me secure my race entry in the New York City Marathon by going to run.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Radio, online at fppradio.com. We'll jump back into the article here in just a moment, but first I have a question for you. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you use and promote Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as an alternative to the fiat currencies of the world? If so, then you need Spend a Bit in your arsenal. What is Spend a Bit? Spend a Bit is the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend a Bit has aggregated millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend a Bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com, and if you're a Bitcoin-accepting merchant, like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spend a bit, all one word, spendabit.fppradio.com. So, we're talking about losing weight and keeping it off, and why it's actually harder to keep it off than to lose it. Again, article here from myfitnesspal.com. Dr. Tracy Mann, professor of psychology at University of Minnesota, says that there are several reasons why it's difficult to maintain that weight loss. The first reason here listed is that your metabolism slows down. Again, the smaller you are, the less energy your body requires to do a thing. that you did when you were larger that burned more calories. Again, the Geo Metro, a lot more fuel efficient than like a Lincoln Navigator. Continuing on, your hormones will change. It seems from puberty till death, we loathe hormones. And here's another reason. Studies found that after losing weight, levels of leptin, which decreases appetite, also decreases, while levels of ghrelin, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, which increases appetite, also increases. Because of this change, you're more likely to be hungry and less likely to feel full when foods that used to make you feel full. Does that make sense there? So you have these conflicting hormones. One that increases your appetite and one that decreases your appetite. The hormone that decreases your appetite decreases. The hormone that increases your appetite increases. It's one of the reasons that sometimes people can just sit there and snack all day long and never wind up feeling full because the hormone, the leptin that decreases appetite, that level is down. And so they never wind up feeling full. Next, your attention shifts. Dr. Mann says data shows that dieters often feel like I can't stop thinking about food. You're also more likely to notice food if it's present and have a harder time distracting yourself from it. In 2 small studies, Oregon Research Institute scientists looked at the brains of college students who had not eaten for between 4 to 6 hours. They found that those students paid more attention to photos of palatable food and food cues. And again, 4 to 6 hours, not really that long, right? If you think about it. And I don't know what the, quote-unquote average person does, but I know what I do. I wake up in the morning, and, well, I realize that's kind of average, but, I'm just sort of giving my routine here. Wake up in the morning, and within a couple of hours, generally, 1 to 2, I will wind up consuming breakfast, which for me, generally a smoothie. And then somewhere around noon, I will wind up, having lunch. And then I might have some kind of mid-afternoon energy boost, be it a Cliff Bar, a pack of goo, a Gatorade, something. Go work out, go to the gym, go run, etc. And then I'll wind up eating sort of, late afternoon, early evening, 5:30, 6 o'clock-ish. And none of those periods are more than 4 hours. But if you think about it, 4 hours, not really that long of a time. There's definitely more than 4 hours from the last time I eat until I go to bed. And, definitely people wind up when they're asleep. I'm guessing, the average person sleeps for well over 4 hours. But again, 4 hours, not that long of a time period, but most people can't go that length of time without having eaten something. Again, studies, at least 2 of them, showed that people who had not eaten for between 4 to 6 hours were more likely to pay attention to photos of food and other food cues. And after you've lost some weight and you're trying to keep it off, well, eating becomes more rewarding. On top of being more appetizing, food gives you a bigger high when you do eat. When you have food, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter that's produced when your brain expects a reward. Dr. Mann says the brain releases more dopamine if you are calorie deprived and you eat versus if you're not calorie deprived. So make that food, or rather, so that makes food more pleasurable, which makes you want it more, which makes it harder to resist, which makes you crave it more. Talk about a vicious cycle. So, how can you maintain your weight loss? And they've got a couple of paragraphs here that I will delve into in the closing moments here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. And again, I can tell you from experience, keeping the weight off It's definitely been a challenge, and I would dare say harder than initially losing 145 pounds. There's more here on PLL Radio.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, and here in the closing moments, going over an article from myfitnesspal.com about why it's harder to maintain weight loss than it is to lose the weight initially. And again, there are some accompanying articles to this that I'm not going to have time to get into, but they will be in the show notes. So head over to fppradio.com, and there you can click on the episode that should hopefully pop the show notes up for you. If not, then head over to SoundCloud or Spreaker or Google Play or one of the many other places that you can find the show. So, how to maintain weight loss. Yes, most of these changes are beyond your control, but it doesn't mean you're doomed to yo-yo diet. The key to keeping weight off is to think long-term from the beginning. The author says rather than doing the whole 30 and then having a cinnamon roll the size of a dinner plate for breakfast on day 31, make eating and activity changes that you can stick with for good. And remember, and this is something that I'm not very good at because I don't like them, but I do take a supplement. I actually take a couple of supplements. One of them that I add into my smoothie is called Fruit and Veggie Total. So I'm getting my fruits and my vegetables, but the author here says, and remember to incorporate vegetables at every meal and to exercise, which will lower your risk of death no matter what you weigh. So do things that will make you healthier, and as a bonus, those that may help you lose weight, and do those for good. Again, I struggle. I'm not going to say that it's easy. I don't want people to, think that any of what I said here is construed to say it's easy to lose 145 pounds, because it's not. But what I am saying is that it has seemed to be easier to me to do that than it has been to definitely keep the weight off. But again, some of that is because I am going to the gym and working out, and I know that I'm adding some muscle while also losing some fat. And I like to think that of the 25 pounds that I've put on in the last few months, that most of that is muscle. Again, I don't really know because I don't have all of the fancy machines to show how much is muscle, how much is fat, etc. Remember, I'll be at Footfest Friday through Monday. Let's send those questions over. AFA.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.